Hello and welcome to the Carolina Snowflakes podcast, where two Southerners come to terms with their liberal snowflake tendencies. We're your hosts. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jason. And we're here with this week's episode of the Carolina Snowflakes podcast. This one's called Metaverse Monstrosities.
Ooh.
Because, well, Facebook.
Because, well, you know, Facebook.
Yeah, there was a video that got put out by Mark Zuckerberg. It was on October 28th of 2021. And it was announcing, the big change. Facebook changed its name from Facebook to Meta. And I had seen some highlights of it and, heard a bit of them talking about the video. But I wanted to see it for myself. So I went on to the old YouTube and I found that the video itself is actually an hour and 17-minute long presentation that Mark Zuckerberg did for his big announcement address thing. And so I was like, oh shit, okay, well I'm going to watch this. I just finished it. So I'm really worked up right now. If I sound worked up, it's because I just watched an hour and 17 minutes
of Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, so
what's wrong with you?
It's got me a little on edge.
Yeah.
It's got me a little on edge.
You seem it.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine staring at a robot alien lizard for an hour and 17 minutes.
I wouldn't do it. No,
yeah,
thanks.
it was hard. The video has about 3.1 million views, but what's funny is the channel is Meta. It's Facebook's channel, which only has 152,000 subscribers.
Because nobody likes it.
Which is really funny. So, as you would imagine, comments were disabled for this video.
Really?
Yeah, and they have hidden the dislikes button. So I don't know how many dislikes there were,
okay.
but I'm sure it's quite a few. Let's just say, it's oh god, it was rough. Okay,
yeah. So take a breath.
So
tell us what you saw.
What I saw. I feel like honestly, in a lot of the coverage of it, they missed a lot of major things. So that was kind of why I wanted to do this. I wanted to break down the Metaverse Monstrosities, and in this section I call Mark's Meta Masturbation.
Mark's Meta Masturbation. Okay, all right.
And that's what I would have titled the video had I released the video, because it's an alliteration. It's a better name than the one they had.
Okay.
So it starts with Mark, and it's him. It's Mark Zuckerberg. He looks like, I want to call him Pinocchio because his hair looks like it's painted on. Or like he's in Star Trek, like it's perfect in a weird way that's annoying, and his eyes are vacant, and he looks like, a robot, alien lizard guy.
Yeah.
He looks terrible. His skin is awful. He's clearly on a green screen. And it starts, and he just looks right at the camera and goes, hey. And there's a pause, like he's waiting for a reaction. And so it just starts off awkward. You know what I mean? Like you have awkward Pinocchio looking Zuckerberg going, hey, and waiting for a response.
What are you supposed to say hey back?
I don't know. It sets the tone though, because it's just going to stay weird like that.
Okay.
Yeah. He rambles, about tech, and then it's like he starts getting into the internet evolved from this into this, and the next step is this thing we're going to call the metaverse. We're going to go into the internet. It's been a sci-fi trope since as long as even before there was the internet.
Right. Yeah.
The idea of going inside of the internet and feeling it all around. So this is what Mark is really interested in now, I guess, because I think Facebook has hit a wall and they pretty much have everybody on the planet that they can get.
It's true.
So yeah. I think he wanted to move into something else. So that's what this whole meta thing is all about.
And plus, as a robot lizard android man, he'll feel more comfortable, I think, in the metaverse.
Yeah, I do too.
Than just looking at the internet.
Yeah. And also, in the metaverse, as you'll see in a minute when I describe what's happening, he can be more animated and not look so bad.
Right. The cartoon kind of an, what do they call it? Avatar
right.
of himself. He can add a little rouge.
Life. The avatar of him looks way more lifelike than his actual person.
I was thinking blush or rouge, but you said he could infuse a little life
into him,
into his appearance.
An artificial representation of Mark Zuckerberg looks more lifelike than actual Mark Zuckerberg.
Than the live Mark Zuckerberg.
It's like that uncanny valley thing that happens where when something becomes so lifelike, it becomes creepy. He's in that.
He is that.
Yeah, and then any version of him is just an improvement.
Okay.
at this point. So he looks terrible, and then he's basically saying, like, it's time for me to show you what the metaverse is going to look like, even though it doesn't exist. And I'm going to do it on this green screen, so get ready for a ride. And that's the way he goes into it. So this is a quote 3 minutes in, and I just find this quote to be infuriating, and let's see if you see it. I'm curious if you find this as infuriating as I did. He says, the best way to understand the metaverse is by experiencing it for yourself, which is hard because it doesn't exist yet. Do you not? Is that not the dumbest sentence you've ever heard?
Yeah.
It's up there. It's really stupid.
Duh, dude. What?
Yeah. So then what I say in my notes, I have, then the real fun begins, which, I was very mad when I was typing these notes.
You're still worked up right now.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. It was hard to watch. So Mark's cartoon man goes into the internet, and they actually make a joke about him being a robot. So like he goes into this, it shows this cartoon man go into this meeting room with his friends, and they all have avatars, and they're floating around in space. And the one guy's avatar is a robot. And Mark's like, oh, cool, you got a robot avatar. Ha, ha, ha. And people say, I'm a robot.
So he's got a little self-deprecation.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that.
Or self-awareness.
He knows that he's a robot, and he knows that we all know he's a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the cartoons do all kinds of shit. The imagery's pretty cool. It shows, like, futuristic metaverse type of thing. And, it's flashy. It's part of probably the thing you would see if you saw a clip of it. Because it looks like a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
He felt the need to, at this point, say that privacy is important, but that was it. He didn't say anything about how they would make any of this private. He just said, we know it's important. So
privacy matters or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, look at my avatar.
Yeah. So he now says, like, we've already got some things to build this technology. We have our Oculus thing and our Horizons project, which apparently Horizons is divided up into Horizon Home, Horizon Worlds, and Horizon Workrooms.
Is that the thing you wear on your face?
Yeah, it's all with the Oculus. It's the goggles you put on your face, and you can make a little home-looking space for you.
I have been getting so many ads on Facebook for that thing.
That's because that's part of this whole thing they're trying to do.
It's weird because I've never expressed interest in any kind of like virtual reality or...
No, but he thinks we're interested in it.
Yeah, so he's like, here's this, you need to buy one.
Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty funny because they say they have these products and it works on, like, you can make a birthday party for somebody in virtual reality and customize it. Yeah. But then the whole time in the video at the bottom of the screen, it says in all capital letters, by the way, not actual product images. Images are strictly for illustrative purposes only. So, like... You're showing us what you already have, but not really.
But not really, because it doesn't exist.
Because it doesn't exist. That's the theme of all this. He's just wildly speculating. He's like, I'm just going to wildly speculate for a while about what the metaverse is supposed to be. That's kind of what happens. Then the scene that also got a lot of press in the news happens where it's this concert. There's a concert happening, and the girl calls her other friend on like their wrist phones, because I guess he thinks wrist phones are going to be a thing. Ugh. And... says like, hey, I'm at this concert, you should come join. And then the friend, somehow, they don't explain how, magically pops up as like a hologram at the concert, and she feels like she's really there. And the other friend who's physically at the concert can see the hologram. But they don't explain how the fuck that would work, because
she's not wearing a... Right?
No, and there would have to be some kind of technology there to make a hologram of the girl for her to see her.
Right, like a projector of some
Unless
kind.
she was also wearing glasses and then only she could see her. So the whole thing is fucking weird and confusing, and it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But you're not supposed to worry about that, I think, because it's all wild speculation.
Don't focus on that.
So then they decide, well, the important thing to talk about here is gaming. Let's talk about gaming. And Mark's interpretation of talking about gaming is showing people playing chess, then playing ping pong, and then doing like surfing with hydrofoil, like surfing on the ocean. Which, when I think of gaming, none of that is what I think of. I don't know about you.
Okay, so he's showing you how you can use this non-existent metaverse to play games with others, such as chess.
Yes.
Where it's like you're together, but you're not really.
Right.
Right.
And so but to me, when you say gaming, you're talking about video games. You're trying to get into the video game crowd.
I mean, is that where everybody goes with that thought? I don't know.
I would think so.
I know that's where I go with it. And I know that's where you go with it. But is that where everyone goes?
Apparently not. Apparently chess and ping pong are hot.
Yeah, I mean, it's Mark Zuckerberg. So.
He loves chess and ping pong.
Yeah.
So then he interviews a lady who I call female Fonzie because she looks like Fonzie and she has a leather jacket like Fonzie. So female Fonzie is like their person who's in charge of gaming coding and programming at Facebook.
Does she like put her thumbs up and go, hey?
She does. And
what?
So neither of them are actors. And so they're reading from cue cards and they're really bad at acting.
Yeah.
She's like, that would be awesome. And then like Mark steps on her line and they didn't edit it at all because I don't think anybody had the balls to tell him they're terrible.
Tell him that like, Mark, we need to redo that.
Yeah. So they step on each other a couple of times, which is kind of funny. And then they announce they're working on Beat Saber, and Mark says that he's played Beat Saber so much that he probably should have been working on this metaverse stuff instead, and that's why the technology isn't where it should be.
What?
Yeah, he basically says he plays Beat Saber so much.
What is Beat Saber?
It's a game you play in VR where you have like a lightsaber and you hit to the music. It's like oots, 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 and you like chop things to the music.
That sounds terrible.
It's probably pretty fun, but either way, he does it so much and it doesn't work on the metaverse. He actually said that.
So
in video.
that's what Zuckerberg does all day.
Apparently, and then they announced they're making a Grand Theft Auto for VR, which is great. I gotta love punching and shooting a hooker and stealing the money from her in VR. So that'll be fun.
Oh my gosh.
Then he segues from games into fitness pretty well. So it's like, hey, these things are going to make you move around and we're going to have like fitness. And he's like, you can learn sword fighting and boxing. And it's just as odd as the gaming one in the sense that he picks weird sports to do.
You're like, where do you...
Sword fighting and boxing?
What? Yeah, if you... Normally, I guess you would think more of like walking or...
You would think he would have gotten like a celebrity.
Something aerobics.
Yeah, or like gotten a celebrity like a
Zumba.
Football player or like a basketball player or something like that. But the celebrity he chose to get is a professional sword fighter and he fences with them. So it shows you how odd Mark is and just like how infuriating.
Well, that's the second like kind of pointy phallic-esque object that he's playing with during his metaverse masturbation.
He does masturbate a lot.
Because the first is the beat stick and then this is the sword.
Yeah. The Beat Saber.
Mark, we're on to you, dude.
Yeah. So Mark, with this excellent segue, says, enough fun and games. Now it's time to everyone's favorite. Work. And he says it completely like that. Just like, isn't that funny how I said work is everyone's favorite? I don't know why he does that. But then they talk about like office spaces and like, oh, you can make your office look like a beach and it'll be great. And no one will want to murder each other in the future at their jobs.
That's such a lie.
Because you're going to go to virtual meetings that look like a beach and that's going to fix it all. Yeah, it's stupid.
Bury your boss in the sand.
And then he's like, we actually have a practical announcement here. This is one of the funny, I underlined this in my notes. And in front of it, I wrote LMAO because it's so funny.
Okay.
So he said, we're updating it so that you don't have to use your Facebook account to log into work meetings. So apparently, up until now, you had to do any of the work in VR that they have been doing, you had to use your personal Facebook account. And people have been bitching about it for a long time. And he's just now realizing that maybe people wouldn't want to tie their personal Facebook account to their fucking job.
Oh, wow. In 2021.
Yeah, I know.
Mark Zuckerberg finally
realizes
people don't want to combine those two worlds necessarily.
Yeah, guys, I just realized you don't want to link your Facebook account to your work thing. We're going to have an update for that.
Oh, good.
Which is fucking hilarious in the middle of this video because it's like, wow, way to show how fucking out of touch you are. Ugh. Then he talks about holograms a lot, but he has no demonstration or no realization of how that technology would work. So something about holograms is going to make work better somehow.
I guess.
Yeah. Then the only part of the thing that's really cool happens. They bridge talking about business to education and how we could use VR headsets and these glasses and things to improve on education. And this is the section of the video that's fucking awesome. They get a teacher lady on there. She shows you how putting on glasses could like let you look at planets and look up into the skies and see constellations, and
right.
it could zoom in on
Be
stars.
used as a teaching tool.
Yeah, and it was very fucking cool. It's like, I would totally do that.
That sounds neat.
And like a way to make it seem like you're in VR ancient Rome, and you could see and hear how Rome would have looked.
Like turn 360 and see what you would be seeing if you were really there.
That's awesome. And you're like, that could happen soon and would be useful and cool.
Yeah.
So that part of the whole thing, I have no complaints about. It's the only part of the video that I thought was cool, was like, here's how we're going to do education. And they actually said they have a David Attenborough VR documentary that's on Oculus about nature, and David Attenborough and his awesome accent.
Yeah.
And you can do like a VR documentary that they just released with him right now. That seems pretty awesome.
And like learn about some sloths or something.
But then they say they're giving a whopping $150 million they're setting aside for educational creators, which $150 million out of Facebook, which is like 0.0001% of what they make in a fucking day.
Well, at least they agreed to set something aside for education.
I guess. It's infuriating because that number seems awfully small for Facebook.
Well, they have a lot more that they're interested in than educating children.
Yeah, because next is where they go with that. The real meat of this is we're going to talk about commerce. And this is where Mark patronizes the fuck out of the audience and says things like, we're going to be serving everyone and be inclusive, and there's going to be free apps, as in give Facebook all your data and we can sell it over and over again.
Yeah, free apps. You download it and then it tracks you, and you put in all your information, and Facebook keeps it and goes, let's study this.
He defends Facebook and says things like, we learned lessons, we got to do better. Yeah. The main argument, though, is that the main argument in this section, he's basically saying that if you buy shit in the metaverse, you're going to want to transfer it over. So if I buy a sweet jacket for my avatar, it needs to work everywhere, or else people wouldn't want to buy it. And the way things are now, if you buy something in a game, it's only for that one game. And they need to build things that are transferable to put real value in them, which is kind of true. But then their argument is, so we need to build everything.
And I don't,
That's where it becomes bullshit. And that's why this whole thing is infuriating. Because really, what he's trying to, that's the main argument of the whole video, is like, hey, this is all coming, and we should be in charge of it, so that it could be the way we want it to be.
Right, and then we'll have complete and total control over this service or features that we offer, and no one will be able to compete or offer anything else similar.
Argument in this whole fucking video. That's the point of it. That's the meat of it. And that's what's so fucking infuriating. And he's standing
there like a lizard trying to get you jazzed up for this new Facebook undertaking.
Yeah, that's going to be this metaverse that we're going to be in charge of. And it's super frustrating because no one wants this. No one wants Mark running this shit. He's crazy. He's going to have us boxing and sword fighting and shit. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. So next he kind of talks about how complicated hands are, and technology's hard, and what virtual pets could be like. It's weird. It goes all over the place.
Complicated hands.
Yeah, they're like, hands are hard, and showing them in the world working.
I guess if you're a lizard, hands are hard.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what is this?
And then what would it be like to have a virtual pet? That part's boring and stupid.
We had those in the 90s.
Yeah, I know.
Those little Tamagotchi things.
Yeah, I know. We've already had virtual pets.
Yeah,
but
we've been there, Mark.
But he's arguing that we can't. We just can't wrap our brains around the technology. But we're working on it.
We've already done it.
Yeah. Then they talk about privacy and diversity. So he'd mentioned privacy earlier. So I thought at this time, I presumed, you would, that finally he's going to tell us about what they're going to do about privacy, because this whole thing is built on Facebook or Meta running this whole thing. So the question is, if you're running everything, how the fuck are you going to make it private? Because you're going to know everything. But you would think he would answer that, but he doesn't. Instead, he basically says, we need to be responsible. We need to make sure that we include everyone. So he never says anything about LGBTQ or race issues. He just dances around them by saying be inclusive and have everyone.
He uses the PC terminology without getting into the meat of it.
He's like, consider everyone, without saying how they haven't been doing that, which is also infuriating, because he knows.
Well, he's not going to say which we haven't been doing.
Yeah, I know.
Because that would be negative, and the dislikes on that video would be even greater.
That's true. That's true. Then they talk about like how to build the technology. So they got a partnership with Ray-Bans to make glasses and all kinds of other stupid shit. They show a room that has sensors on everything and a person who has sensors on everything. And they're like, look, we can make a 3D model of the room and she can pick up stuff. And it's all dumb because you would have to put little stickers on everything you fucking own for it to work.
I just don't.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's dumb, and it doesn't really belong in the video, and I don't really know why he put it in there.
Not to mention, as he said himself, it's not a thing yet. Anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't even exist.
But they are trying to show it to you somehow, and the way they do it is stupid. Let's just put it that way. It's just some lady walking around picking up cups and shit.
Was that the Fonzie lady?
No, the female Fonzie was only in the gaming part of it. This lady was just... Her name's like Xing Pig or something. Some Chinese lady.
Okay.
And she's picking up cups and moving them from one place to another. And they're showing it render on the screen. And they're like, look, it's in real time. Like when she moves the cup, you see the cup move on the screen as if somehow that's amazing. But it's not. It's stupid. And I don't know why they do it.
Let me ask you this. If anyone else had been giving this presentation, would it have been better? Of course. Yes, it would have been a million times better if anybody else did it. Okay. So your anger really, in a lot of ways, is towards Mark.
No, it's not. It's towards Facebook, the whole thing. Like way
Mark is Facebook.
The way it's done, it's very much like it's patronizing. It's stupid. The images aren't really reflective of any technology they actually have. And so it's just a bunch of wild speculations about why they should be in charge of things. So it's just incredibly infuriating. And so after all this tech bullshit, they start to wrap it up. And Mark comes out and he's like, we're going to change the name of Facebook because Facebook is one product and our company is much bigger than one product and our brand needs to be bigger and we want to be a metaverse company. So we're changing our name to Meta and that's why we're doing this, which is complete bullshit. We all know they're changing their name to Meta because the name of Facebook has been drawn through the mud so horribly and everyone knows how bad Facebook is and has seen Zuckerberg testifying on Congress repeatedly, looking horrible and sweaty and like a robot man.
Like a lizard
robot man. And so that's how they kind of wrap the video up. And it's like, there you go. Congratulations.
And they're like, aren't you stoked and excited? Because we are.
And like I said, the thing that's maddening the whole time is that it's him jacking himself off. It's very much masturbation of him being like, look what we can do in the future. And we should be in charge of it. Heatedly do. And and it's just hard to watch, like it made me very mad. And by the end of it, I was even more anti-Mark than I was when I started.
It's partly because he's so out of touch.
Yeah,
and he always has been.
And it's so presumptuous. It's so like, I'm going to tell you how technology is going to work. And he doesn't know shit. He's just pulling it out of his ass. That's what's so, it's really infuriating. And it's just him with a green screen behind him. And they have all these effects like, ooh, it's going to be dazzling. But we've had green screen effects. It doesn't look any better than The Sims. It looks like The Sims.
Hey, I like The Sims.
I do too, but I'm saying that, how old is The Sims?
Pretty old.
Yeah.
Pretty old.
I mean, EA has already done this, dude, a long-ass time ago.
Yeah.
And it was way more fun and better than anything Facebook's going to fucking do. That was my whole infuriating part with it. They're just wasting money. And the one part of it that is cool, the educational part, the part that actually has promise, they've set aside $150 million for, which is really, it's like the stab in the heart. Like, the one cool part of your idea that you have, and you're saving a tiny little $150 million for it when your company does billions a year.
Yeah.
And so that is why it's infuriating. That is the video. That's Mark's meta masturbation.
Keeping with the theme of alliteration.
Yes.
We're moving into the next section titled Francis's Facebook Files.
Yeah, I like that.
So Mark announced the launch or the existence of Meta or the Metaverse at the end of October. And that was on the heels of something that happened in early October that was kind of bad in a big way for Facebook.
I think I might know what you're talking about.
Right. So in early October, a woman by the name of Frances Haugen testified before Congress after it was revealed that she was the whistleblower who put Facebook on blast to the SEC.
Yeah.
She had been an employee of Facebook for 2 years as a data scientist. Basically, she had thousands of pages of internal company documents from Facebook that she used to argue to the SEC that Facebook was misleading investors about what it knew about how dangerous the social media giant had become, especially in terms of influencing behavior, such as the radicalization of the platform's users who instigated the January 6th riot at the Capitol building.
Okay, so she was there for 2 years as a data scientist and saw all this stuff that Facebook had been doing internal research, and she also saw that it wasn't going anywhere.
And she had the receipts.
Yeah.
She took pictures using her cell phone.
Really?
Because basically all of Facebook's super smart, nerdy people had gone remote due to COVID. So they're all working from home. And she knew she couldn't take downloads of
because they'd see it.
Files or conversations. So she just began snapping pictures on her cell phone and saving them.
That's hilarious.
So that's basically her receipts for these allegations. Now, as we mentioned, Facebook is well versed at being scrutinized by the feds. If we remember the Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the alleged Russian interference of the 2016 elections, etc. So, Mark's been called before Congress
they're
many times.
Intimately familiar. Yeah.
But this was different, and it is different. Number one, it involved the SEC, which is the Security and Exchange Commission. You're talking about money this time. And number two, the information came from within. The call came from inside the house.
Yeah.
Frances was hired by Facebook to study how Facebook's algorithms amplify misinformation and the spread of disinformation across the platform. She told Congress that Facebook consistently chose to maximize growth and profits rather than implement safeguards to protect end users.
Wow. So she was pissed that they weren't doing anything about it. So she got there and she's like, oh, cool, they're doing this internal research. That's good. And then she was like, after 2 years, was like, fucking, they're not doing anything about it.
Right. And the irony of all of this is that she was hired by Facebook to study this.
Yeah.
They had their own internal researchers looking at how their platform was being used by people to radicalize and expose other users to hate speech and violence.
What did they think, hiring them and then letting them find out and then not doing anything about it was going to be fine?
Yeah, apparently. I guess.
If you just throw enough money, if we hire enough people, we can say we're doing something.
Yeah. So the way that Facebook on the smart data Francis side of things operates is they kind of have a Facebook for employees.
Yeah.
It's like the Facebook that we use, but it's specifically for employees of Facebook. And it's all very open.
You might say it's like a meta Facebook.
It is. It's all very open in the sense that users across the platform who are employees of different departments can converse, and they can see conversations happening between other members. And if they have an idea, they can contribute to a conversation. So they kind of suck their own dicks a little bit in how great they believe that is. And it would be, except that they consistently were finding all of these problems and nothing was being done about them, despite these really smart web techie people screaming, going, this needs to change. Facebook is causing problems. Yeah. And Mark was like,
I'm too worried about going to play ping pong.
Whatever. So it was a lot of these conversations that Frances photographed she took pictures of using her phone.
Yeah, and was like, what the hell?
Of these really smart science, Silicon Valley-esque type minds going, we need to change this. This is having really negative real world implications. Help.
and nobody doing anything.
And then nothing happening. So one area that these files brought to light was how Mark Zuckerberg's public claims have almost always been in direct conflict with Facebook's own internal research.
They are.
Because, he goes out in public
He
every
just lies.
once in a while and he's like, oh, it's great. We're doing so good. So many good things are happening thanks to Facebook. But Facebook's own employees are going, that's bad. It's real bad.
That's why I want to call him Pinocchio, because he's not a real person and he lies all the time. He's got both the Pinocchio characteristics.
Yeah. So, for example, Zuckerberg testified last year before Congress that the company removes 94% of the hate speech it finds before a human being reports it. They have those bots or whatever. And
that's the hate speech it
We're
finds.
so on top of things. Don't you worry. But these files that Francis provided show that based on Facebook's own internal reviews, less than 5% of all hate speech is ever actually removed.
Exactly. So the part of that sentence that's doing a lot of work is of content we find. Yeah. So 94% of the time when we're sure it's racism, we actually take it down. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
But as it turns out, they're not really removing
Yeah, they're not.
any of it, hardly.
Yeah, because most of it they never find because they can't.
Yes. And they don't have an interest in actually setting up mechanisms that would find it.
No, they don't, because they're making money over it.
Yeah, exactly. Another revelation brought to attention was how Facebook totally dropped the ball in the months leading up to January 6th. Now, they had spent a great deal of time policing the platform leading up to the 2020 elections, like removing content that promoted violence, misinformation, and politically motivated hate speech. I know that they did this because we here at the Carolina Snowflakes even had a hard time getting our content onto Facebook during the months leading up to the election because we're a politically kind of topicked podcast.
Wow.
So they really did do that. That actually happened. But the problem is that after the election, they basically stopped.
Yeah.
They stopped the policing of content. And as a result, dozens of these Stop the Steal groups emerged and were basically a coordinated campaign. And that term, coordinated campaign, came from Facebook themselves in studying what happened.
Wow. What's funny to me about that too is this it's like they knew it was a problem and they started to do something about it, but then Joe Biden got elected and they're like, all right, everything's cool.
Yeah, they were just like, anyway, what's happening over here?
Yeah.
So Facebook knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
I bet Prince Harry called him too.
You think maybe?
He's like, I just got off the phone with Jack.
He's like,
things are looking
Mark,
awful.
Mark, there's a problem.
Facebook's all on Twitter.
By the time Facebook tried to reimpose its stricter content policing, it was already too late.
Yeah.
January 6th happened.
Yeah, it happened.
And in large part, it happened because the groups on Facebook.
Yep.
These Stop the Steal, QAnon-themed conspiracy theory, crazy nutbirds. Ridiculous. And Facebook knew.
They knew.
They knew the whole time. Now, outside of the US, the problem with Facebook being used as a hate vessel is even worse.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's little to no monitoring of content and hate speech on Facebook in places like India or Egypt.
Yeah, and they make the argument they don't have enough people to speak the language because, that's a valid argument somehow.
That is not a valid argument.
No, it's not.
But it's actually kind of true in the sense that in those countries, a lot of the content as far as like how to report hate speech to Facebook, they haven't translated it yet.
Right.
It's still in English.
Yep. And the thing is, they can afford to spend money on some jerk off making a video about hands and how complicated they are for Mark to come out and show us a cartoon instead of hiring people to do that kind of work that actually matters.
Right. Protecting end users.
That's another reason this all is infuriating.
84% of efforts to reduce the spread of misinformation and hate goes strictly to the U.S. The rest of the 16% goes to the rest of the world.
The rest of the world all together.
All together gets 16% of time, energy, money, resources to control or police monitoring hate content.
Why they changed their name. I hate Facebook. It's really easy.
That's why this wasn't coincidence that Metaverse was announced after these files came out and Francis testified. Another issue brought to light by these files is the fact that for years, Facebook has chosen to maximize engagement over end user safety.
Yeah.
Emojis or like reacts sway what people see.
Yeah.
In particular, angry reacts means more shares, more views.
Yep.
Because the Facebook algorithm picks it up as being more engaged.
Yep.
So this post is causing more engagement, therefore more people want to see it, presumably. Let's make sure that it's in more feeds than other posts.
That way they can blame people too.
Yeah. So in 2019, a Facebook researcher, so this is from within, it's the call within the house again, created a dummy account for a make-believe user named Carol Smith. Carol was a politically conservative mother from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Her account indicated that she had interests in politics, parenting, and Christianity. Carol followed Fox News, and she followed Donald Trump. This was obviously before he got banned.
Yeah.
Anyway, in less than 2 days, Carol's account was getting invitations to join Facebook groups dedicated to QAnon.
Yeah, I could see that.
Carol...
She's a prime candidate.
Oh, yeah, no, perfect. Now, Carol, who's not real, but was, the Facebook person, chose not to join. She chose not to join any of these QAnon groups. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. I won't. But despite that, Facebook's algorithm continued to fill Carol's feed with pages and groups dedicated to hate speech and spreading disinformation. The researcher who created Carol's account reported that the experience was a, quote, barrage of extreme conspiratorial and graphic content.
Yeah.
So, like, the person did this and was like, that was fucked.
Uh-huh.
And wrote about it.
Well, I mean, I've made a troll account on Facebook that was, we'll say he was a right-wing guy himself. And I can say firsthand, they barrage you with it.
Yeah.
It's weird. It doesn't work the other way either. At least to my knowledge, from what I've seen. My regular Facebook account doesn't get barraged with that shit. Only the one that pretends to be right-wing.
Well, that's because your regular Facebook account, you aren't that.
You're right.
You're not Carol Smith, a conservative Christian mom from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Or Billy Ray Charles.
You're you. So you're not going to get invited to join crazy QAnon groups and whatever right-wing bullshit. Facebook's own research found that the platform routinely pushes users into increasingly narrow echo chambers where violence and conspiracy theories thrive. So the more you join these groups,
the deeper you go.
Now, Carol didn't, but many do or did. The more you get exposed to even specific, smaller, tailored groups to hate and extremism. And then you end up with January 6th. Facebook allowed QAnon to operate on its platform largely unchecked for more than a year after the FBI deemed it a domestic terrorist threat.
Wow.
Yeah.
People don't care about those domestic terrorist threats for some reason.
Can't be bothered.
It's fucking odd.
Don't give a shit. Can't be bothered.
It's odd.
Anyway, now in addition to the atrocities happening on Facebook, the files leaked by Francis also showed the devastating effects Instagram, which is owned by Facebook,
yes, it is,
has had and continues to have on young people, particularly young girls.
We might call this section Instagram's instigation.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's fitting.
And then in parentheses, it'd say suicide.
Parentheses, suicide. Yeah. Facebook's own study, again, they're studying themselves, found that 13.5% of UK teen girls reported their experiences with suicidal thoughts became more frequent after joining Instagram.
Wow.
So joining Instagram made them want to kill themselves.
Basically, essentially.
I mean, we're laughing, but that's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, now it's kind of funny because it's like your product is that bad. Your product is so bad that it makes people want to kill themselves.
Another Facebook study found that 17% of teen girls say they experienced worsening disordered eating after using Instagram. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was exacerbating.
Yeah, I think it upvotes like a lot of the extreme dieting bullshit. It makes the girls want to be super skinny. And if you think about the principle of Instagram, it's like
and
posting
what it is,
pictures.
It's just pictures. It's just imagery and a lot of heavily doctored, photoshopped, edited.
Pressure you into feeling like you need to be skinny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's horrible.
It's very horrible.
It's horrible for anyone, but in particular women, and in particular young women. Mm-hmm. And 32% of teen girls said that when they felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel even worse.
Oh, let's go somewhere to make us feel worse.
Yeah, so you're feeling ugly or something, and you log onto your Instagram and scroll, and you're exposed to images that by the time you're done scrolling make you feel even worse about yourself.
The thing is, teenagers are honest as shit too. We need to listen to them because it's doing the same thing to adults. We're not honest enough to admit it. You know what I mean? We should listen to these teen girls because they are honest.
Well, and also they're more vulnerable than adults.
They're more vulnerable and they're more honest, and what they say is probably right.
It happened that in this particular instance, the Instagram side of these files is the one time in which the Democrats and the Republicans actually seemed to agree during Frances's testimony. They basically were like, you don't fuck with kids.
Yeah.
You know, like that's too far.
That's the bridge too far, yeah.
Yeah. And it was during the testimony that Frances told lawmakers that what they need to do to fix this or try to fix this is to target the algorithms. Like that was her area of expertise, and that was where she believed the biggest issues to be stemming from in Facebook and on Instagram. Mm-hmm. On Facebook and on Instagram, a post with engagement is featured more prominently in feeds, in everyone's feeds who follows whatever page it is. This engagement-based formula helps push sensational content such as posts that feature rage, hate, or misinformation in front of more faces.
Yeah.
So in the world of Facebook, engagement is good.
Yeah.
More people need to see this thing. But in reality, this thing may be detrimental to the people that are seeing it.
Extreme dieting or pro-suicide or flat earth bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. It's causing kids to be exposed to more pro-Anna content. It's dividing families and communities. And in the Middle East and around the world, it's fanning the flames of ethnic and religious violence.
Yeah.
So hopefully, maybe Congress will intervene.
That's what we need.
Because we're kind of at that point now. So the testimony has happened, and now Congress is left going, what do we do?
They got to do something.
And there are some options on the table. One would be to like try to do something national, where they pass a national law.
Yeah, well, they're an American company, which is good.
Right, to implement like safeguards or measures. Yeah. I don't really know how they would do that.
They need to.
Another proposal was to start letting private citizens sue Facebook.
That's another option.
Of like, my exposure to the content on Facebook caused harm.
I like that option less
because right now you can't sue Facebook.
Right. I like that option less because it involves getting rid of that Section 230 thing.
Yeah.
And doing that would create a lot of waste and a lot of lawsuits. So I think that idea could work, but I don't necessarily like the idea of letting private citizens sue Facebook. I'd prefer if the government would do it. And the government would be like, okay, private citizens can't sue you, but we can.
Now, Frances was also pretty clear during her testimony that she did not believe that letting Facebook kind of splinter and separate into smaller entities.
Yeah, that's not going to do it.
Would actually do any good.
No, I don't think so either.
She thought it would actually do more harm.
I think so. I think
which
that's
made
true.
sense to me. Yeah,
it's just more. It's more complicated, more to deal with. I think what needs to happen is it needs to be like almost like a utility. It needs to be highly regulated by the government. That's my 2 cents from my solution to this. Is that a company as big as Facebook is almost infrastructure at this point, and so it needs to be treated that way.
Yeah, because there's so many people on the platform.
Exactly.
And so many people have clearly, even by Facebook. The thing I guess that gets me the most is the fact that they did their own internal research on it.
Exactly.
So it's not like they're going, literally can't be like, we had no idea.
They
yes,
know.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
You knew the whole
and you
time.
did it anyway.
And you did it anyway, and you didn't care because you wanted to make money. Yeah.
And I hate to be like beat a dead horse, but I really think that like without the government doing anything about it, we're just not. Like, people can't control what this psychopath at Facebook does. Yeah. But maybe the government can. That's my only hope.
Yeah. No, I agree. And
if I had to extend some hope after all this horrible monstrosityness, it'd be that.
I guess one good thing is at least now there's proof.
Yeah.
Like, there's always been the speculation that Facebook is rotten.
Yeah.
But there hasn't really been this kind of evidence, at least not from the inside.
Yeah, and we have it now.
And it's out there now. There's like thousands of pages of it. And maybe with receipts, things will change.
Yeah.
Whether it comes from within Facebook or it's forced upon Facebook by Congress, I don't know, but maybe.
Who knows? But I do know where you can find more episodes of our podcast on our website,
carolinasnowflakes.com.
Or you can go to the place we've been bitching about literally this entire episode and find us there.
Facebook.com/Carolina Snowflakes.
And if you liked the episode and you want to hear more, send us an email. Tell us how what you loved about it and how much you hate Mark Zuckerberg.
carolinasnowflakes@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Thanks for listening. Bye.